Back at the Smarter Commerce Global Summit in Orlando, I'm Scott Lanningham from IBM DeveloperWorks with Todd Watson, technology evangelist and blogger at turbotodd.com. Our guest right now is Kim Garst, who is social media and personal branding strategist, and you can find her at kimgarst.com, right, Kim?
That is correct, yes.
Kimgarst.
That is correct.
Thanks for stopping to chat with us for a minute.
Thank you all for having me.
You bet. Now, we know we're very interested in your journey into social media, the desire to be a stay-at-home mom and a home-based business and that type of thing. And I'm wondering if you could start us off by just talking broadly about your approach to social media, and because there are a lot of people that start down that road, but maybe they don't get over that wall.
Right.
And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Sure, absolutely. One of the reasons that I laugh and say I was doing social media before it was called social media, right, because I did B2B boards back in the day, dating myself, but I've been around on the internet for 21 plus years. Definitely dating myself. But I got started in social media because it's kind of like, Wayne Gretzky is always saying, skate to where the puck is, it's going to be, not where it is.
Right.
That's kind of the reason that I really took my business in that direction, because I think social media is not just, it's changed the way we communicate, but it's cultural. It's a cultural shift, I believe.
Not just technology.
It's not just technology. It's invaded the very core, I think, of our culture and the way that we communicate. So it's obviously, I'm always looking for great business opportunities, and I kind of gravitated to that. And my favorite part about social media really is that it affords you an opportunity to connect with people you would never, in the ordinary course of life, connect to. I wouldn't be here, without the influence of social media.
Right, and being based at home makes it even that much more important.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm in a closet most of the time, and without social media, I would have no social life whatsoever.
He literally is in a closet, not the...
I had an office like that one time. Yes.
we do podcasts. He shows me the camera. I'm, oh, yeah, you're in the closet, are you?
Yes.
My desk was in the closet, and my chair stuck out into the hall some. So, yes, I can relate to that.
But you've moved up from that.
I have moved up from that, yes.
Well, you're my new role model then.
You can move up, too.
So, Kim, I know you've doing some reading about what you've been up to. You've been focused on Pinterest lately, and you actually published a book entitled The Quick and Easy Guide to Branding Your Business and Creating Massive Sales with Pinterest, which available, by the way, in a Kindle edition, which I think is great. I suspect there's still a lot of people out there that are watching who are suspicious of Pinterest as a viable marketing vehicle, and I was wondering, how would you convince them otherwise?
Well, I think the biggest challenge for people who don't understand how to use Pinterest is that it's graphic based, period. And I think the biggest advantage to that is, of course, any business that has products or services that can be graphically displayed. And I think the bigger picture, though, from a driving traffic standpoint, is using your content to drive traffic. And in order to do that, you have to have a graphic that depicts your content. You can't, if you have if your blog content's about yoga, for example, and you have a running stream of water and you pin that to Pinterest, there's no frame of reference for that. You have your graphic has to depict it. In other words, what I usually do is I put the title of my blog post on my graphic, so that there is a frame of reference for it, and then people can click on it. It takes them back to my blog. But I think there's just some small core elements or tips that people could implement that would. I mean, Pinterest is amazing, especially from the standpoint of. Women are usually the buyers in a home, and 86% of the users on Pinterest are women. So if you have any type of product or service that you can get out there and start connecting with the buyers of most households, it just makes sense.
So let's assume for the moment I drank the Pinterest Kool-Aid. I was wondering what is it that you would tell folks either in your consulting engagements or even in the book about how they can approach actually building an effective Pinterest strategy. And I'm hoping you can give some specific examples and even name some names of brands that have done it well.
Okay, yes. One of the biggest brands that I think has done a great job is Whole Foods. Everybody's familiar with Whole Foods. Whole Foods uses they have obviously the pictures of the food, recipes. They do a lot of things that surround that industry too. They might do products that people might purchase. They do a lot of health-related boards. They just do a lot of things that surround their niche that have to do with their niche, and yet people gravitate to that as sources of information, recipes, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
Another industry that has done exceedingly well on Pinterest is bridal. That industry has done very, very well because, again, from hair to accessories to the gowns, across the board, they have done very, very well. I've heard some, and unfortunately, I can't tell you the exact name of the company, but I heard of one company in particular that, was a small store, I think in South, I want to say South Alabama, and, they're now a massive organization. They've built their business purely off of the exposure that they got on Pinterest. So
in terms of strategy, then, what would be your recipe book? 1, 2, 3. You need to think about these 3 things.
You have to start with how do you display your graphics that in a way, or how do you display your products and your services in a way that people will connect with them and understand what they are.
Okay.
And then you have to build them out in some sort of a category system to where, again, people can connect under certain categories and they know where to go, organize your system or organize yourself a little bit. And I think my biggest tip, and I incorporate this with all my clients, is to basically use graphics to drive traffic back to your site.
Okay.
And you can do that whether it's product based or whether it's blog content based.
Okay.
But you have to do that. There's a system to that, which I described earlier.
Okay.
How does that work that you do there at Pinterest inform kind of how you consult with people about Facebook? Todd and I have been talking about this. Is the excitement or the bloom or whatever kind of wearing off Facebook at all, or is it still really important for your clients to make a big focus there and an effort there, establishing a Facebook presence?
That's actually that's a very good question. I recommend to all my clients basically the big 4, and I've added the Pinterest now. When I say the big 4, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Pinterest.
You've added Pinterest?
I've added Pinterest.
Wow.
Pinterest is my number 2 traffic source right now, second only to Twitter.
And really driven by those things that can be communicated effectively with visuals, which is that just about anything?
Well, that's about anything. If you are creative with it, I think you can do it with any business. You could do tips around your niche. There's just so many ways that you could approach it. Personally, I think we're moving towards a visual internet, social media based system. People's time is at this, and so they want to see it, they want to absorb it very quickly.
And how long will they watch?
Exactly.
We're gonna go take some pictures of my new golf swing, and we're gonna sell it on Pinterest.
Yeah.
$5 a view.
That's why we're not audio podcasting anymore. That's why we're doing video.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though all consultants told us to keep our faces off of YouTube, we're doing it anyway.
The videos are big. I think the graphics. I'm big on testing. I like to test and make sure that the things that I share I've done it before I tell somebody else that they should be doing it. And so I've done a lot of testing on my Facebook. My engagement off of photos and videos, mostly photos, is sometimes 30 to 100% more, versus just a straight text. And heaven forbid that you post a blog post on Twitter, on Facebook. No engagement to speak of at all.
Unless you attach some cool photo to get us. I found that same thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's really interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
We've seen that in some of our own research on our Facebook group,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact.
You find that because of the speed of scanning of content. that a visual just ultimately has more stickiness than a word or
Absolutely.
bunch of words.
Well, I think that's the broad allure of Pinterest as well, right? It makes it easy to have that experience.
Right. And another thing that a lot of people connect on is inspiration. We've incorporated inspiration into almost all of our clients, whether it's Pinterest or Twitter or whatever, and it works. It gets a lot of engagement.
Cool. Kim, we're so glad you stopped to chat with us. Very interesting discussion. And again, KimGarst.com is the place for people to follow you and see more about what you're into.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
so much
Kim.
for being here.
Appreciate it.
Kim Garst, again, social media and personal branding strategist, KimGarst.com. Todd Turbo Watson, Scott Lanningham. We'll be back with more at the Smarter Commerce Global Summit.
On the Health Watch this morning, a disturbing statistic. More than half of school-age kids report they've been bullied at some point online. About the same number have actually engaged in cyberbullying. Kim Garst is co-founder and CEO of Boom Social and one of Forbes' top 50 social media influencers. She's here with 5 things every parent should know about cyberbullying. I got to tell you, it's really kind of frightening. I have 2 small sons. Mm-hmm. And, when I was a kid, the worst we worry about, maybe somebody pushing you or punching you on the playground. But now it's a lot more. It's a lot more. And there's a huge disconnect between what's actually happening and parents' awareness of what's happening. All right. Well, let's get to some of the things that parents should know. Your first is privacy and security settings. Talk to me a little bit about that. Yes. I think as parents, we need to be very cognizant of the privacy settings that our children have on Facebook, Twitter, if they have. Facebook's primarily where most of the kids are today. And anytime Facebook changes, they change routinely. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they kick those privacy settings out. So you need to routinely check them and make sure that, that they are where you want them to be. Number 2, educate. You really need to educate the children, talk to them, make sure they're aware of passwords, sharing their passwords, who they share their passwords with, even to the point of, making sure that they're not cyberbullying. The 50% is that many children, 50% have actually been cyberbullied, but the same number have actually participated in cyberbullying. What age? It ranges. I've seen it. When should you start talking to your kids about it? I think as soon as you can. I think there's a big disconnect. As soon as they're ready? Yes. Okay. We talked about there's so many parents. There's only about 7% of parents actually have this on their radar screen. That's a big disconnect. Wow. Yeah, especially considering how many kids are online. Absolutely. All right, number 3, legal consequences. And today, we have to make sure that our kids are aware that what they put out there is out there. Once it's out there, everybody can see it for years to come. Mm-hmm. Today, when you are looking for a job, you have people. Many companies are actually looking at your social media presence to see, what you've put out there. So there's lots of legal consequences. If you are participating in cyberbullying, you can lose your cell phone, your ISP account. So there are lots of legal consequences to cyberbullying. Obviously, communication. Don't mean to gloss that over. We talked a little bit about that. Yes. And number 5, though. If your teen is bullied, what should you do? If your teen, you need to be a safe haven for your children. They need to know that they can come to you if something is happening. And the majority of parents are not aware of this. 50% don't even bother to tell their parents. So there's, again, that disconnect. I think being open, communicating, being involved is a huge piece. Outside of that, you can obviously connect with if you know who the bully is, you can connect with them and their parents. You can take it to the school if it's involved at the school level. But do something, don't ignore it. Don't ignore it. Right, absolutely. Kim Garst from Boom Social, thank you very much for enlightening us this morning.
Protect your kids from cyberbullying one click at a time. This morning we have social media expert Kim Garst joining us this morning with more. Kim, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We hear the term cyberbullying a lot, unfortunately, lately. Yes. How common is this right now?
It's really common. About 50% of children today are being bullied online or through a text message or of some type of bullying.
And I was going to say online right now, you talked about text messaging, but then there's Facebook and there's Twitter and there's instant messaging. You know, how can parents even try to stay on top of all of this with so many forms of media everywhere?
Well, I think the biggest thing is being aware and being in touch with your child and knowing what they're, where they are, where they're hanging out. If it's, if they're primarily communicating through their phone or if they're on Facebook. I think sometimes parents lose touch with, where their kids are communicating.
Is it okay to monitor that device, just take it away from them and look at it, or is that invading their privacy? Where do you draw the line?
I think if we are serious about protecting our children, we have to be involved at some level. As they get older, they have their perception of, they have the right to privacy. I think even then there has to be some rules.
All right, as we start talking with our kids and investigating these issues, what are some of the warning signs that perhaps they could be being cyberbullied?
Well, I think it's really shocking, but 50% of children won't tell their parents about this or an adult that this is happening. If they're, if they're withdrawn or, things that they would normally do, they're no longer doing, those are types of things, if they're depressed. There's lots of signs that, if your child has gone through something, you can normally, if you're in tune, you can usually tell.
Sometimes there's a wide variety of things it could be. It could be they're sad, though, that they didn't make the school play or the team. So how do you know in specifically that would be the cause?
Communicate.
Yeah.
I think communication is the root of all of it. If you can really just communicate and know your child and let them know that you're their safe haven, that they can talk to you about anything, I think that helps.
And that'll protect them, too.
And ultimately, it will protect them. If they feel that they can come to you when something's happening, absolutely.
Well, Kim, thank you for bringing more attention to the issue.
Sure.
We appreciate you coming in.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And if you would like to learn more information, please go to our website, foxbaltimore.com/morning.
Bullying has been an issue in the playgrounds for years, but kids nowadays are finding ways to hurt their peers through this, a cell phone, iPad, social media. Kim Garst, social media and brand strategist. She has been named one of Forbes magazine's top 50 social media power influencers. She joins us this morning with some statistics, but more importantly, how can you help your kids? Kim, so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. This is such a huge topic, and there's such a big disconnect between parents being aware of it and, it actually is happening. So I really want to bring attention to the fact that it's, a problem. But how can you help? I think being in touch with what's going on with your child is probably the best way to know what's going on with them.
Kim, you mentioned awareness. What are some signs? Because sometimes you don't even know that your kids are going through this and dealing with this. So as parents, what do we look for?
And unfortunately, it's difficult because it could be tied into some other things that are going on in their lives. But if things that they would normally do, they shy away from. Friends that they used to have that you thought were friends and they no longer want to hang out with them. That could be an indicator that there's a problem. If there's depression, weight loss, a lot of the traditional, warning signs of other things can also be a warning sign of the fact that they're being bullied in some way.
Sometimes, Kim, I think that maybe kids don't even realize that they've delved into a situation that they don't know how to handle.
Yes.
As parents, how can we monitor our kids' activity online, social media, on a cell phone, but still give them privacy so that they don't feel like we're kind of intervening in their personal
space? And it is a
space?
fine line, but I think it's one that we have to be aware of. I think we need to know where they're hanging out, if that's on Facebook. Periodically check and see what kind of communications they are involved in. And especially as they get older, it's a real fine line because then your child thinks you're,
Mom.
Yeah, you're creeping on them. But yes, I think you have to in order to keep them safe because what the problem, really there's no awareness around this until it's too late.
Yeah.
The child has decided to take drastic action.
So if we spot these signs, what do we do? How do we handle that?
I think, again, it goes to the communication factor and letting the children know that you're there for them as a parent. You are their safe haven. And 50% of kids don't even bother to tell their parents that this is happening. So, again, the communication piece and being there, you can do some other things as well. But I mean, it's critical. The communication's critical.
Yeah, have an open line of conversation,
Yes.
face-to-face conversation
Yes.
with your kids, absolutely, and letting them know that you're always there for them. We could talk about this
It's
forever.
big.
So this is great information. So
Yes.
if you'd like more information and to learn more about the resources on this issue, you could check out Kim's latest blog post on kimgarst.com. You could also find her on Facebook, reach out to her on Twitter, just search Kim Garst. Kim, thanks so much for being here today. Great information.
Thank you very
All right, coming up, still looking for somewhere to go with the family during spring break? Well, we have some fun ideas for you. That's coming up.
How many of you go to Twitter and you say, I just don't get it? It sucks. Okay? Well, I'm very passionate about Twitter. I love them. I love several platforms a lot. I love Facebook. I love Pinterest. I see a huge potential on LinkedIn. I use them all. But Twitter really has my heart, and I was just like you. I used to go to Twitter 2 years ago. I would go to Twitter. I'd try to read a tweet, and I'd get frustrated because it would refresh, and I'd be scrolling up trying to find the tweet I was reading. I was like, I just don't get it. But when I started down the road with my social media business, I was like, I got to get this. I got to figure this out. How am I going to use this? So I just dug in. As a result of what I learned, that's what ultimately led me to building out my Twitter following, Twitter muscle. All of you guys should have Twitter muscle. If you don't have Twitter muscle yet, see Dawn, because she'll make sure you get in the group and access. You'll get your login and everything. It's video based. There's one video in there in particular. Twitter is like all other platforms. They don't change as rapidly as Facebook. That's a little dig, I'm sorry. But they do change, and they've really been modifying a few things lately. So one of the videos has to be reshot, but there's a lot of great content in there, and I am going to get that video that needs to be redone done very quickly. Hopefully this afternoon. In fact, it's on my agenda. So I want to tell you that all great things that have happened in my business have been a direct result of Twitter in some way. It started in Twitter. So let that sink in for a minute. When I started with Twitter, I didn't get it. We felt safe and comfortable on Facebook because we were familiar with it. It's friendly, it's easy to use, and you don't have that overwhelming sense of, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? Because you just post a picture, you interact with friends and family. You can still use it for business, absolutely. But more importantly, how do you go to Twitter and figure out what it is you want to do with it? How do you use it? I had this whole presentation lined up this morning around the very core basics of Twitter. But I was really intrigued yesterday with Nathan's approach, and we did a webinar actually, Facebook versus Twitter and how you find leads on Twitter versus Facebook, which is better, it was a fun thing. So today I opted to, one, you guys are going to get all the basic core info on the flash drive, my original presentation that I was going to give you. But I decided that I was going to do a show and tell today. I'm going to show you how you can get 50 to 100 new followers a day. Anybody interested in that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to show you how you find people that are looking, just like Nathan did yesterday, find leads to create sales for your business. How you listen to your competition, see what they're doing. And I'm going to show you a neat little trick about exposure on Twitter that I don't think a lot of people know. So those are the big three things I'm going to share with you today. And again, hashtag. Those of you who don't know what a hashtag is, that is actually explained in the original presentation that I was going to give today. So make sure you check that out. Again, all this stuff is in Twitter Muscle. You can search all the way down to a zip code. How cool is that? How many people have local businesses? Yeah. Or perhaps you're doing a blog post and you're trying to find people in a certain area that you want to interview. Let's say, for example, you want to talk to somebody who's been using the Kindle app or the Kindle book or whatever in Tampa, okay? So you can type in, right here where it says all words, it's going to search all tweets, every tweet out there. How many tweets are there on a daily basis? Millions of tweets on a daily basis. It's going to search for Kindle. And I'm going to scroll down here to where it says, as soon as I figure out the computer here, I got this. All right, see where it says near this place? you can put in Tampa, Florida. And it will give you options, 15 miles, a radius. Oops. Oops. Gotcha. Okay. You can 1,500 miles, 50 miles, whatever. You can actually choose how the radius around the area. Zip code. You can even put zip codes in here. You can positive, negative. So in other words, you can actually search for people who are saying negative things about Kindle or positive things about Kindle. How cool is that? Within a specific radius. So click search, and let's see what comes up. And all these people are talking about Kindle. Here, you can win a free Kindle. Some of them are giveaways. But again, if you are looking for, maybe like I say, you want to interview somebody about the Kindle, or you're looking to, let's give a more realistic, well, maybe that's a great example. But let's say, for example, you're in the health and wellness industry, and you're looking for, let's say, any of these words. Let's put in gym, oops, fitness, health. So that means it's going to be looking for all of those words. You can choose the language, English, if you're just looking for people who are speaking English. You can choose another language. There's all kinds of, Spanish, depends. So if you're a Spanish speaker, for example, and you want to search for just Spanish-speaking people who are talking about gym, fitness, or health, you can do that. You can take out the Tampa, if you're not looking, if you just a big general search. And now look, you've got people who are talking about all of this stuff. You can do, of course, the search features are different. It depends on what you're searching for. You can do like Nathan said yesterday, talk broken toilets. Put that term in and see who's talking about a broken toilet. So you notice that I put those in brackets so that it will search for that exact search term. In other words, you're not looking for independent words. Moving to New York. Here's one. So I'm moving to New York because I've got issues with my sleep. Seriously? But there'll be all kinds of people who are using that phrase. So it's exactly the same concept, except you can use it on Twitter. And down to a little bit finer science than Facebook will allow you to do. Who knew that? Nobody?
Yes.
Some of you? Okay.
I use it for my clients with job searches.
Yeah.
They know about it's about 6 days before it's ever posted.
Yeah, realtors, the same thing. Great resource for so many industries. And you can also check out your competition using this. So if you know, for example, that, you can pay attention. One of the things that I do, and how many people use Hootsuite in here? Is anybody familiar with Hootsuite? Okay, awesome. Okay. I'm a big Hootsuite fan. But you can do the same thing. You can build out keywords in your Hootsuite string, or so that you can listen to what people are saying. That way, you don't spend so much time on the Twitter search. You can actually just go into your Hootsuite, look at your keyword strings that you've built out in your Hootsuite, and just at a glance run down and see what's happening. So that's a time-saving tip. But I agree with Terry. You need to be using these tools. I'm sorry, not Terry. Gary. You need to be using these tools because they're great. They give you a lot of info. The neat thing about Twitter is it's social, like Facebook. LinkedIn is not as social. People are going there to connect on a business standpoint. It's like what Rod said. It's like a cocktail party. But Twitter is a different animal. It's very social. People do actually, just like Facebook, they exchange and share info, personal info. But it's also content driven. People are looking for information on Twitter. News hits Twitter before it hits any other platform. People are actually going to, who reads a newspaper still? Anybody? Okay, we still have a few. And nothing wrong with that. I'm not knocking that. But a lot of people don't anymore. A lot of people just go to Twitter. In fact, it's sad to say, but lots of times celebrities or people that are high profile that pass, that's where you see it first. It's on Twitter. And or anything, any major news is happening on Twitter. And look at what happened with the Olympics, for example, this year. Gary's right. And Twitter drives much of that. it's not there's not as much of that on Facebook as there is on Twitter. So Twitter is an amazing, amazing platform. I want you guys to really try to grasp how to use it a little better. And there are ways that you can organize it to where it won't be so overwhelming, because that's a big issue. Now, who wants to figure out how they can find targeted people to follow them? You're not just shooting in the dark. We don't want to just follow anybody. You don't want to go to Fiverr and buy, 10,000 followers. We actually had a client share this story that went to Fiverr, bought, 10,000 followers?
Or like 20 different Twitter.
Garbage, literally. You don't engage those people. They're not your ideal client. They're worthless. So don't do it. Don't do it on Facebook. Don't do it on Twitter. It holds no value to your business. And people that know. You're not fooling anybody by saying that, oh wow, I've got 10,000 Twitter followers. Because all they have to do is take a look, they're going to see that you don't have quality people. And if you don't have quality people following you that are interested in your business, what's the value in that? There's no value in that. So don't buy followers, don't buy fans. There's just no value to it. So I'm going to show you, though, how you find people that would probably be interested in your business. Because most everybody in this room know their competition. Everybody knows their competition. Somebody in your niche that has, in some cases, they may not have a great Twitter following. But most niches have somebody in a position of influence within a certain niche. If you can identify who those people are, it stands to reason that the people that are following them, unless they bought a lot of followers, but usually people of influence have followers that are quality. You try to target and follow those people because it stands to reason if they are your influencer's ideal client, they're also your ideal client, right? All right, let's talk about that. How do you find those people? Go to tweepy.com, and I'm sharing Tweepy with you because it's free. There's no fees associated with it at all. You would log in. It actually asks you to connect through your Twitter account. You can log in via Twitter. All right, that's going to load up everything here. And I'm going to go up to follow tweets, users, followers is what I'm looking for. Let's see, I got that. Oops. All right. And you would put in your influencer's Twitter profile name. So if it's Gary V, you would put in Gary V. If it's, someone else, I'm just going to use Gary as an example. Because he was here yesterday. Everybody knows him. Okay. All right, so now Tweepy will pull up all of the people who follow him. And you can kind of look at a glance and see. You can pick and choose if you want, but I'm going to show you a quick little trick. Normally, in my experience, I don't usually follow people. The pant hike. Okay, I'll do it too. Normally, I don't follow people that have the egghead. That's what I call it. Right here, you can see the blue egghead, the red. Those are people who haven't filled out their profile yet. And that usually sends a message to me that they're not active on Twitter. If they're not active on Twitter, then really, why do I want to connect with those people? So if you have an egghead, get rid of it, okay? Because most people won't follow you if you don't have a personal photo up there. So the quick trick here is, if you wanted to come here and you found your ideal, if you found an influencer that has followers that you think would be your ideal client, then you would click on the very first one. There's a little box there. Used to, you could click on this box up at the top and it would highlight them all for you. It doesn't do that anymore. So you have to click on the first one, and if you'll scroll all the way to the bottom, and let's just assume these all look good to you, and you're going to follow all of them. You go to the bottom, hit the Shift key, and click the bottom box, and it highlights all of those people in one fell swoop. And now, in fact, there's how many people are on this? 20. You can hit the follow button and you automatically follow 20 people out the gate. Now, you can do, I wouldn't recommend you do more than 100 to 125, 150 max on a daily basis, because you don't want to draw Twitter's attention to you that you're like massively following a bunch of people, because you don't want to lose your account. But this is a great way to find targeted followers that are probably your ideal client and add 50 to 100 new followers a day. Now, some of those people won't follow you back, and you'll have to do some maintenance, occasionally. But it's a great way to find people that are interested in probably what you're marketing. Is this good stuff for anybody?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. But you can still follow them. You may be very interested in what they're sharing and what they're putting out there. Some people do unfollow people, don't follow them back. It's totally up to you. In some cases, you'll want to follow people that don't follow you back simply because they got great stuff. In some cases, it's not going to matter. If they're not following you back, forget it. Just move on. Because they're not connecting with you more than likely if they're not following you back. So there's two sides of the coin. There's some people who you'll want to follow that don't follow you back simply because they got great stuff and you want to pay attention. And then there's some that you maybe are your ideal client, but they don't connect with you on some level. Therefore, they, whether they're active or not. So don't spend time. Yeah. Because ultimately they're not seeing your content, in other words, if they don't follow you back. Okay. Community. We have community. If you want to build community, you have to connect with people. You have to do it. You have to do the work. And it is work, and you have to care. Like when somebody retweets me, not only do I thank them, but I try to pull something out, and you get to know people. So say, for example, they went on vacation last week. Hey, are you back from vacation? How's it going? Because usually you need a vacation after vacation, right? So, I always try to make that personal connection. Or if I don't know somebody, but I notice that they've retweeted me 10 times, I go to their bio and I check them out, and then I say something about them personally. I want to know people. Look at all you people that are here. I mean, I'm a people person, right, honey? He always says he's not a people person.